beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. My name is Arlisa J. If you are new here, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you a part of the family. If you are a current subscriber, hey, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling? In this video, we want to jump right into it. I'm going to give you guys a few keys in keeping a long-lasting relationship / marriage. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my testimony and what I've been through when it came down to divorce, and what I am previously learning from or learned from my divorce that I don't bring to my current marriage. So a few years ago, I met somebody, and at the time I was dealing with a lot of guys who, just running into a lot of guys that just did not know God. And that was a prerequisite for me, because if I'm talking to somebody, the first thing that I need to know is if you love God, if you serve God. Because if you love God and you serve God, I know that there's a possibility that you may not run me and my children into a ditch. So I ran into people who, they pretended like they knew God, and the fruits on their labor was not evident. It was just like, you just said that because you wanted to talk to me, but deep down inside, you don't have a personal relationship with Christ. So those relationships, I didn't even give time to. So I served God and I served in ministry until God sent me someone who really actually had a relationship with him. But you have to be careful, because just because there's a guy that has a relationship with God does not mean that that is still the one for you. That doesn't mean that. Just because he has a relationship with God, he does have potential, because he can be the husband that he needs to be, or he can be what he needs to be for you. But there may be some side stuff that still don't add up that you have to make sure you pay attention to. So in my situation, the guy that I was married to, when we were dating, he said he loved God, and I was like, oh, bingo. I didn't care about nothing else. I didn't care about where he worked. I didn't care about nothing. As long as you love God, I was cool, which was a big mistake. Because not only, okay, you love God, but you don't know how to balance. You don't this, you don't that. It was just a lot. So, I still continue to talk to him, and we ignore red flags thinking that we can change the situation or change the person. Oh, like for example, we can meet somebody that we really like, but he's like, oh, well, I don't go to church. Oh, it's okay. We cool. We can still talk. But if he don't go to church now, baby, he not gonna go to church when he with you. So we need to stop getting these relationships based on potential and based on reality. And that was my flaw. This guy that I was dating, he actually worked for a company that he had to work the night shift. And I knew deep down inside that I did not want to be with anybody. Like, say for instance, if this relationship came down to marriage, I knew deep in my heart that I didn't want to be with anybody that worked nights, because one, I don't like being in the house by myself at night, because it's just a little creepy to me. It's not because I'm scared. I just feel better with my husband with me at night. That's just my preference. I can't be home with the kids and my husband not in the bed with me. It's kind of something, me personally, I want that. That's a want for me. So, I kind of dimmied down that, and I was like, okay, well, God can do anything. God can change his schedule. God can do this. God can do that. Of course, he can. God can do anything. But will he do it? Like, is it even in his will to do it? So, time went on, we continued to date. I ended up pregnant. He was in ministry. He was back then, he was his pastor's armor bearer. And we were having premarital sex. And, just because somebody say that they love God don't mean that they're actually doing what the Bible tells you to do, which is waiting to marriage. We weren't doing that. So that's another thing. So long story short, we went to his pastors. We told him that we were pregnant. The pastors were very upset because, who I was at my previous church and who he was at his previous church. And it was like, the church that I was at, the church that I was at before this church, the bishop did not really give me the permission to even leave my previous church to come to this ministry. He didn't give me permission. It was like, okay, let me go back. So in ministry, you have to go to your bishop or your pastor, and you have to introduce who you're talking to. But it's easier if that person goes to the same church, because it's like, yeah, he goes here, blase, blase. we're serving together. But the guy that I was dating, he was in a totally different church. And my bishop was like, just let me pray on it. Let me pray on it. And I kept rushing the bishop. I was like, look, I'm about to get, what you gonna do, sir? Like, can I go? You know, I was seeking the approval, the permission, his blessing for me to leave. So long story short, he never gave it to me. He just said, okay, do what you need to do. But it wasn't like, I give you my blessing to leave this ministry to go to this ministry. So right then I knew, I was like, something ain't right, but okay, I'm getting married, you know? And that was just my philosophy. I was getting married. But my previous bishop was like, just do what you want to do. He never gave me the okay to leave the ministry to go to this other ministry, but I did it anyway. So time went on. I served in this ministry. I became one of the assistants to the co-pastor, Baze, and we just was going that direction. I was on the praise team. I was doing, you know, different helps ministries and things of that nature. But the kicker is, before I married him, I went to his pastor and I was like, I don't know about this, you know? I don't know, because he worked nights, you know, and I don't really, and I was honest. I was like, he worked nights. I don't think that's something that I want. And the pastor was like, you're gonna give up this man of God just because he worked a night shift? God can do anything. God can change his schedule. Again, we're going into this marriage with what it could be versus what it is. So I needed to go into this marriage. What if it never changes? What if his schedule never changes? And y'all, it never changed. We were married for about 5 years and his schedule never changed. So here I am in the house by myself. Now that we're married, you know, we're married now. I'm in the house by myself. I'm with the kids by myself. I don't like being by myself. So basically I settled because, one, I said I didn't want to be in this house by myself if my husband worked nights. I wanted to be with this person at night because I don't like being by myself at night. So I settled for one. I settled. And then I allow other influences to come to me to tell me what I should do based on what it really was. So it was like I put leaders on a pedestal above God. Like, you may wonder, like, where was God in all this situation? What was God? It was like, where was God? That was the question. Where was God? Did I even ask God for his opinion? Did I pray about this? Or did I just do what people wanted me to do? At the end of the day, that's what I think to myself. What did I do? So continuing on, I was in this ministry. I had a very sick son. My 16-year-old now, he was so sick. He was dealing with, he almost actually passed away because they had to revive him. He was dealing with infections in his blood. It was just really, really bad. And the pastors were like, okay, well, you know, he'll be okay, you know, if you serve God first. I mean, if you serve first, God will make sure he take care of your stuff, you know. And just like I said, if you know me, I am honest enough to say I did not fact check everything that the pastors were telling me. I just thought that I was supposed to just do it because they said it, you know. I just thought that they were leaders. They were who God sent to be over me, and I should just do what they say do. So it became a point where my son was in the back of the church laying down sick as a dog. I was still serving. Then I knew something was wrong. I was just like, this ain't right. Like, I should be at home. And they were like, no, you should not be at home. You should serve, take care of God's stuff, and he'll take care of your stuff, not knowing that it's God first, then your family, then ministry. My marriage failed because, one, I did not follow that code. It was God, family, ministry. But the way that the pastors were saying it, it was supposed to be God, ministry, then family. If you take care of God's stuff, he'll take care of your stuff. And it was kind of like a manipulation factor. I went years not taking care of my son the way that I needed to. I would throw him off on my mom. I'd be like, hey mom, can you watch him? I gotta go armor bearer. I gotta go to this service and armor bearer, or I gotta go to this service and do this and do that and do that and do that. And my mother was like, are you crazy? These people are using you. And I'm like, they're not using me. They're not using me. I would come pick my son up from her house at like 2 o'clock in the morning because there was no consideration that we had children. The individuals who were serving, we had children. We needed to be home at a certain time. No type of consideration, but it was my fault because I was grown. I had a choice, but I did not seek the Father. I sought man. And that was because I put my faith and I put my trust in these pastors who I made idols over God, which was my fault. The church hurt that I went through was my fault. I did that to myself. So, long story short, I was just like, you know what? I'm just not happy. I'm not happy. This whole situation, I'm not happy, and the number 2 thing why marriage fell is because you're not stroking your partner's love language properly. You're not doing it. There's 5 love languages. There are words of affirmation, there's physical touch, there is gifts, there's quality time, and then there's acts of service. I want the quality time. I don't care about the gifts. I don't care about the money. I don't care about none of it. I just want quality time. But I was not getting that because my husband was so busy serving the pastors that he did not take care of what needs to be taken care of with his marriage, basically, is why our marriage failed. It was like times where he would work so much at night, and it was like, okay, we're passing. We're roommates now. We're passing. But I would come home from work and he would be sleeping. But then when the pastor called and say, hey, I need you, he jumping up like the house is on fire. It's like we didn't put the family first. We didn't put the marriage first. We put the church first, which was our biggest mistake. Why? Because we wanted to be seen. We wanted positions. We get so caught up in being something in a ministry that we forget about our whole other. God made us stewards over our children, over our family. There's somebody praying for a husband. And we have these marriages and we're not treating them the way that they're supposed to be treated. We're not nurturing our wives and our husbands. We're not even taking time out for each other. We don't even know what bills is due. We don't know nothing because we're too busy at the church all types of night. We going to church at 7 o'clock in the morning and then we're not getting out of church till like 5 o'clock in the evening. And we're all screwed up. We don't, no schedule, no nothing. And that's what happens in marriages in today's society. It's like church people, we get so caught up in what we're doing for God, which is not even the case because God didn't even tell you to do it. You just want to be seen. You just want a title. You just want a position. And it's not even about that. It is not about that. It's about getting these souls for the kingdom of God. People are going to hell and dying like flies. We got kids committing suicide. We got the world is burning to hell. But we're concerned about if we're going to get the elder position. We're concerned that the person that had this position went to another position and I want you to pick me. It's so fleshly. It is so fleshly. It's ridiculous. So my marriage failed because we didn't put each other first. My love language was quality time, but that love language was not stroked. And over time, communicating with someone like, can we go on a date night? Can we do this? Can we do that? And they're not putting the energy in that you need them to put in. And it's like they're taking it as a chore and not something that they want to do. You get frustrated. You get discouraged. It's like, okay, God, what do I do? I just sit here. And he began to replace the quality time that I needed. He replaced that with gifts. So now we're spending all types of money for absolutely no reason because I don't care about this stuff. All I want is you. And we're all confused. You done took the quality time that I wanted and exchanged my love language for gifts, which then still don't make me happy, which then put us in a situation where our marriage is in an uproar. So it's so critical for you to learn your partner's love language. Learn your partner's love language. If your partner loves to be stroked with like words of affirmation, stroke it. Honey, you look nice today. Honey, you is the baddest thing out here. Honey, this, honey, that, honey, that. Honey, you know what? Let me do this. Do that. If your partner is quality time, take some time out. We allow the world to get so foggy. Everything we got going on, and we don't pay attention to what we have in front of us, which is our husband, our kids. And then we wonder why our kids are looking for love in all the wrong places. Why? Because they can't find it in you because you always at the church. You want to know why our young daughters come up pregnant? Because they don't have their mother around because you always trying to follow behind a pastor. That is not how God intended this to go. So my marriage, I wouldn't say it was all on the church. It has majority to do with ministry, but it also has to do with individuals wanting to change the situation. Sometimes we get lazy, and we get lazy in our marriage, and it's like, same thing you did to get me is the same thing you need to do to keep me. There's no, where's the flowers? When we were dating, I had flowers every week. Where are the flowers? I don't see the flowers. It's been 20 days in marriage, I don't see the flowers. We have to learn how to be consistent with our partners. That's why marriages go down the drain, because we're not consistent. We don't do the work, and marriage is work. We don't communicate. We don't do any of that. So that's why our marriage is in an uproar. And it's so many marriages that are in divorce court that are in ministry. It is absolutely ridiculous. Like, the enemy is coming to steal, kill, and destroy marriages, and we are allowing him to do so because we so tied up in what we want to be at church, or we so tied up at being the biggest showboat that so people can see us and not see God. Like, God is not pleased. God is absolutely not pleased with what is going on in the church environment. Pastors who I serve, the very pastors that I put in front of my kids, in front of my mother, in front of everybody I knew, at the very pastors that I would have put my life down for, literally, when I got divorced, it was like, oh, okay, well, we ain't got nothing to say for her, not to her now. There's nothing she can do for us now. So I'm like, whoa, like, okay, can I talk to y'all? Can we have a conversation? No talk. They didn't want to talk. They didn't want to do anything. They sent a representative to tell them that, you know, she can go. It is what it is. It's like all these years, all this work, all this time that I literally, physically neglected my kids because I was listening to what y'all were saying. That's what I get. And I dealt with so much hurt. I was so broken. I was more broken than when I left the church than when I got to the church, because I wasn't broken when I got to the church because I was in a good church. I was in a church where I was safe. But then I left my safe haven to go to this church, and I left this church broken, completely broken. And I don't blame anybody but myself. This is not a sob situation. I'm just trying to tell you my testimony and why it is important to invest in your marriage so it won't end like this. Why it is important to put God first, then family, then ministry, so it won't end in divorce. Why it is so important to communicate with your spouse so it does not end up in divorce. Why it is so important to take time and invest and stroke the love languages that your partner requires so it won't end up in divorce. So I'm here to share and be vulnerable with my personal testimony so I can help save somebody else's marriage. I don't know. There may be one person that's watching this that marriage is on the rocks. Why is it on the rocks? Are you not communicating? Do you not know your person's love language? Is God not the center of your marriage? And then we get on Facebook acting like we're happy, but then we're contemplating divorce. Like, what is it? What is it? Why is it so many Christian marriages unhappy? That is the crazy part. You got the world out here enjoying themselves, as what we can see. You know, we don't really know. But you got so many Christians faking the funk to the point where it's like, whoa, y'all divorced? What? I thought y'all, whoa, I'm confused here. But we faking the funk. We getting on Facebook acting like everything is okay. But deep down inside, our marriage is on the rocks. And it needs restoration. What is going on? What needs to happen to bring your marriage in restoration? Unfortunately, no. Well, fortunately, I was saved and I ended it. You know, you can't end a divorce for anything but infidelity, or I think it's just infidelity. Infidelity. I can't even talk. I think that's it. It's infidelity. But in a sense, we are so quick to get a divorce. We don't want to stick anything out, but God hears your prayer, and it's something that needs to change in your marriage to keep your marriage from ending the way that mine did. Marriage, just like I said, is work. It is not easy. It's two imperfect people coming together to be who God has called them to be together. But the main goal is, of course, being who God calls you to be together. It's not about how much you make and how much this and how much that. Is what has God called you to do together? What is our mission? What, as a husband and wife, do God want us to fulfill? All that needs to be taken into consideration, and you must start at the source. I don't know, there may be a woman that is dealing with a husband that's not even a Christian. Now, I can only imagine the hell that you go through if your husband is not a Christian. Like, that's a whole, or if he's not grounded in the word, or if he, being a Christian is taken lightly, because people can say they're a Christian, but they don't love their neighbor. People can say they're a Christian, but don't practice 1 John. Like, if you say you're a Christian, act like it. So, yeah, everybody say they're a Christian, but your track record, you nasty. Like, you nasty. You don't say hi to nobody. You don't help nobody. You nasty. You don't love people. And 1 John say that you are just as good as dead. You good as dead if you don't love people. But that's a whole nother topic. Getting back to the source. So, I learned from the previous marriage that I went through with the ending that relationship, that marriage with divorce. Do I regret that marriage? No, because I got a beautiful little girl out of it. Do I regret leaving my safe haven to go where I went? In a way I do, but in a way I don't, because it made me better. It made me stronger. It made me wiser. It made me deeper into the word, because I now know that everything that was told to me was manipulated, because now I'm in the word. Now I see what the Bible is our map. The Bible is that's the book. It doesn't even matter what anybody say. It's what the Bible say. And so many people are manipulating the Bible. Like, we read one passage, we be like, asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knocking the door shall be open. So we take that and we like, whatever you ask God to do, he gonna do. Honey, you didn't read the whole chapter. You did not dissect the beginning of that, and you did not dissect the end of that. What is that passage actually saying? And if you take time throughout your day to fact check what you listen to on Sundays, you will be majorly surprised at what has been manipulated that don't even mean what God is saying. So I even encourage you and challenge you to read your word, read your Bible. But I said all that to say that I learned so much. I've learned in this marriage that I'm in now. It has made me, the past that I went through, everything that I went through has made me a better woman. It has taught me how to love people. Everything that I went through, I love everybody who hurt me. I have no animosity. All I want to do is help people with a genuine heart. I want to help people and open the eyes of God's people to let them know that, hey, that's my situation. Maybe I need to check what's going on here. Maybe I need to redo some things. Maybe I need to not be so into ministry, but be into God. Because at the end of the day, it's not about if you go to church. It's about what you have in your heart when it comes down to your relationship with God. Church is outside of the four walls. Like, we're so confused these days. Like, we just church. I'm on my way to church. We think we're doing something because we're on the way to church. But what are you doing when you're not at church? What is your life like? What are you representing when you're not in church? So it's not about church. It's about the relationship that you have with Christ. And so many people is like, if you don't wake up and go to church, you better go give God some glory. Okay, you can give God glory wherever you are. You don't have to go to church to give God glory. Of course, I go to church because I love being in that same place with like-minded people to get a refreshed type of vibe. Yeah, but it's not that if I miss a Sunday at church, I'm going to hell. Because at the end of the day, I can pray to God, my Father, myself, and I can worship on my own and create an atmosphere in my own home, and it doesn't even have to be at church. So we have been taught some stuff that we need to retract. But The keys to having a successful marriage is quality time, those date nights, spending time with each other, investing in each other, learning about each other. Like one thing that I can say about my husband is that he never stops investing in me. I don't care if it's the worst idea ever. He's like, okay, did you pray about it? And I'm like, okay, we'll go to the Father, pray about it. And if God approve it, I'm with it. Whatever you need, I'm here. I will support you. So he's consistently investing in me. He's not perfect by far, but at the same instance, he's a little older too. So he's 43. So by then you should have some type of common sense when it comes down to how to handle a relationship by then, I will hope. But he's teaching me so much, even when it comes down to the Bible, because it's like, I feel like we will always be students of the word, but I feel like that I'm like a new Christian now, because I've been in ministry all my life halfway, and it's like things that I learned is just definitely not what I was supposed to learn. So it's just like I'm starting as a new Christian and new faith because of, and I'm so happy that I met my husband, and I'm so happy that I'm married to him, because now it's like my relationship with God is even going deeper. Like, just to have somebody that holds you accountable. Like I do crazy things. I may say something like, oh my God, go. I'm at the red light and I got road rage. God is still working on that. But I got road rage, and he like, why you doing that? You're a Christian. You're supposed to love people. If somebody does not see that the light turned green, just give them a slight bump. You ain't gotta just blow your horn, beep, beep, just let them know, hey, it's green. But you ain't gotta, why? Because you should be showing that you are a Christian. But doing that is the opposite. So he holds me accountable, and I hate it. It's like, yo, bruh, leave me alone. If I want to yell at somebody, I want to yell at somebody. Leave me alone. But I'm a Christian. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So to have somebody hold me accountable in this Christian walk, in this love walk, in this whole, it's just a refreshing. So back to the keys of having a successful marriage, just date nights, just investing in each other, time. Like he has a job, I have a job, we have kids, we have projects that we're working on individually. He's in school again. It's so much going on, and your focus in each other can be taken away so fast. And if you're not careful, your focus can be taken away so fast to the point where it's gone with no return. So before that happens, you have to catch it and get back to the source, which is, of course, Christ, but learning how to do those date nights and to come back together like, okay, we back together. Let's focus on us. Let's tune out the world. Let's tune out the kids. Let's tune out everything, and let's focus on us. Let's rejuvenate us. So that is what I am learning, to put God as the center and to focus on my partner's love language, because it's crazy when you don't know your partner's love language and you're doing things that your partner doesn't even want you to do because you're not aware of what they actually need. So start learning what your partner needs, and you can do that by just asking, what do you need? What do you like? Do you like when I compliment you? Do you like when I buy you things? Do you like when I cook for you? Do you like what do you like? So just being vulnerable and honest with each other. I've learned that as well, because some things I couldn't say, in the past, that I can definitely say now, like, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. Can you change that? And it's like the maturity is there. It's like, okay, my bad. Let me go ahead. You're right. I should have done that. So communication is so important. And if you don't communicate with your spouse, they will find somebody else to communicate with. And that Jimmy John on the job that is watching her to see if she's coming to work happy, that's sent by the devil. For real. So you want to make sure you're filling up that cup, so when Jimmy John come and be like, you look beautiful, it's like, oh, my husband told me that this morning. Thank you. Have a good day. Go work. Instead of not paying your spouse attention, and you don't even say that it look pretty, but then when Alex come and tell her she looks pretty, she just all bubble, because we move by what we hear. We move by what we hear. And if Alex keep telling her she's pretty, and Alex keep telling her she's pretty, and Alex keep telling her she's beautiful, and Alex keep telling her this and that and that and that, and she's not getting it from her husband, sooner or later, she gonna be, sooner or later, and that's just the honest truth. That was me. You know? And maybe I would say not requiring somebody to, you know, love you more than you love yourself. Not trying to find love in another person, because that should be within. Two whole people coming together type of situation. Not me not knowing who I am, or not me having a low self-esteem and expecting you to build my self-esteem up. That's not what I'm saying, because you should already know that you it. You should already know that you're the prize. You should already know this stuff. But it is something when a husband compliment his wife, because if my cup is filled up, I don't care about what he said. But if my cup is, that goes the same for a husband. If you, honey, you look good. You cooking for him. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're being the wife that God has called you to be. If he sees Susie out here flaunting with a skirt on, he like, I'm good. You know, and it goes from both sides. So I just wanted to give you guys some keys and what I went through in my divorce. And to be totally transparent, if you're in ministry, you got to check that stuff. You have to check that stuff, because it's really the people in ministry, of course, outside in the world as well. But there should be no divorce. We should bring it to a point in ministry. There should be no reason to divorce. Why? Because we're doing exactly what the Bible says. We're serving God. We're loving on God. We're seeking God. And then we're dealing with our families. And we're loving on our families and loving on our children, loving on our spouse. If we do things the way that the Bible said, I believe that we won't go through some of the stuff that we go through on our own, because it's already mapped out in the Word what we should be doing. So yes, I just wanted to share my testimony on what I feel as though caused my divorce and how I used that divorce to make me stronger and better in my current marriage. So guys, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.